Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Today, I am broadcasting from a very special place, a brand new office that I set up in my house. I am super excited about it. What do you think? I have a little lamp, like a little warm light going over here. If you look a little further that way, there's shoes. Maybe I should keep that in the shot, but right now it isn't. Okay, another little piece of trivia here. So that chair that you see back there, and it is if you're watching the video, by the way, if you're listening to the podcast, you can watch any of my episodes by going to inacoveney.com/CT and then the number of the episode. This is episode 18, so it's CT for Corporate Trailblazers 18, okay? Go there, watch the video, and then you'll see where the things that I'm pointing at here. So that chair that you see back there, that was my chair in 2 jobs ago, right? I was at a place where they stress the importance of ergonomic, having an ergonomically correct setup to work at, and I am on the small side of people, so my desk had to be lowered all the way to the bottom, and they got me a chair that was ergonomically fitted for me, and everybody made fun of it. They called it the mini chair, the little person chair. And so when I left the company, I asked my new boss if he could buy my old chair from my old boss, because they're not going to use it. They were all 6 feet and taller over there. They were not going to make use of this chair. But it's like one of those, like, Aeron is the brand, like super fancy. This is like an $800 chair. So my old boss just said, we're not going to use it, just keep it. So I took it to my new job, and then I brought it to my house because it was my property. So I brought it to my house. So I fully intended on using it while I recorded this podcast. But guess what happened? I live in a very old Victorian house and the floors are like this. So as I was coming up to record, I was rolling back. I'm like, okay, that's just not gonna work, even for the sound purpose. So I'm using a little chair that I bought when I was in my internship in Oregon 20 years ago. More like 16 years ago. That's crazy. Okay, so anyway, in this point in time, what I wanted to talk to you about was time. And that's what the name of this episode is. That's what we're going to talk about. Before we get there, though, I wanted to tell you a little bit about why you care about time. Okay, this is how this podcast episode idea kind of came about. And it is that every time that I talk to anyone about what their dreams are, what they want to do for their life, how they picture themselves in 10 years, I tell them, you could start that stuff right now, right? That you don't have to wait until retirement. You don't have to wait until the kids are out of the house and over in college. You can actually do all these things now. And I get the stare, right? They're like, I'm a busy person. I have a life. I have things to do. My weekends are packed with family stuff to do. My kids have 3 games a week. I have a full-time job. I can't even get dinner on the table every night. I can't do this right now. I just don't have time for it. And I'm like, okay, if that is your story, then keep it. Make your life the way you would like. That's fine. This episode is probably not for you. This episode is for everyone who has heard themselves say that and then gone home and thought, gee, I really wish I had the time to do these things. I have all of these ideas. I have dreams for myself. I don't want an income cap anymore. I don't want to work for somebody else anymore. I really want to do my own thing. But seriously, in all honesty, genuinely, I have no idea how to find the time. If that's you, then this episode is for you. Okay? So if you're the first person who's like, I really don't have time for this, good for you for having the time. I don't have the time, Ina. Sorry. I wish you the best. If you're the second group, I'm here for you. And that's what my Facebook group is for. If you haven't joined it, it's Corporate Trailblazers. Go to inacoveney.com/Facebook or just search for Corporate Trailblazers Unite on Facebook and my group will pop back up. Okay, and that's where I go live with my podcasts every Monday. So you get a whole bunch of really personal stuff in there that nobody else gets. All right, so that's the kind of people that I want to have in my Facebook group, is people who are working right now, but they really wish they had more time. I'm gonna tell you how. Okay, that's what this episode is all about. So before I actually go into strategies, because I got a few stories to share with you of how I found the time. Because in reality, I didn't just start this business a few months ago. I started this business back in 2011. That was 7 years ago. And I had no idea what it was like to build an audience, to do all these things, like to like really put myself out there. I just kind of had clients and I charged them, and that's what I did. It was a very, very small operation, but I found the time to do it, and I want to tell you how I did that, all right? Because everybody would tell me how crazy I am, that I have a podcast and I have a business and I have all these other things I'm doing plus a full-time job. And I'm like, you guys, if you have the passion for it, time doesn't matter. You just do it. And I'm not telling you like, if you have the passion, go ahead and do it. No, it's if you have the passion, you're already doing it. You're already finding the time to read books that inspire you, to listen to podcasts that inspire you, to watch this video or listen to this podcast. You're already finding the time, right? It's because you have the passion to improve yourself. So let's back up and let's think about all the things that you want to do when you quote unquote make it. Right? What does success mean to you, and what would you do with that success? So let's start there. What do you want? You should have that answer like handy. You should be able to, like, if you're in the car commuting right now and you're listening to me, I want you to say it to the radio, especially if you're alone. I want you to say it to the radio. I want you to say it to the speaker and say, Ina, I know what I want to do. It's this. I want to start a blog, or I want to start a restaurant, or I want to start something. I want you to tell me what that thing is. Okay? And then I want you to indulge yourself in thinking that you already got it, that you already started the restaurant, that you already started the blog, that you already started the podcast, whatever it is that you have in mind. Picture yourself already having started it. How does that make you feel? What does that do for your life? What does that do for your kids who are watching you? Right? They're watching you have a job and do all of these things for them. And in addition to that, having a really cool podcast. Like, how does that feel? Do you feel accomplished? Do you feel like, like I'm actually doing something I really wanted to do, like you're going for your dream? What does that feel like? Because part of what these podcasts are supposed to do is not just to give you techniques and strategies and all of that. It's about inspiring you. Because with inspiration, that's where action comes. For me, anyway, that has always been the case. It's not like I want to do something and then I find something to be inspired about. I'm inspired first. So because this podcast episode gets into actual practical tips, I want you to do that inspirational part for yourself, okay? Even if it means pressing pause right now and just taking a deep breath and being like, what is it that I want? What do I want to do? And picture yourself actually doing it with all the commitments and all the responsibilities you have right now. Picture yourself doing it. How does that feel? Okay? Now, if you're ready to actually make the time, I'm going to tell you about 4 ways that I managed to make the time when I first started out. All right? Are you ready for this? The first one is not so much a technique, although you can actually get a tip out of this, is something that I did back in, I want to say maybe 2015 or 2014. This is what I did. I was actually wondering where my time goes, because it was crazy to me that I had all of these ideas and that I knew that I could do something, because sometimes I was spending hours playing Candy Crush. Seriously, that was me. My husband was watching TV, my son was in bed, and I was just cuddled up next to my husband playing Candy Crush. And I did that for the duration of the shows. One time I looked up and I'm like, it's 11 o'clock. We've been here since 7. I've been playing Candy Crush for 4 hours. You guys, that was me. That may not be you. You may be thinking, oh, well, there's your time, right? It seems really obvious when you look at your time in hindsight. Like, well, I could have been using that time to do something else. But when you're in the moment, you're doing something that you feel like your body needs, right? My body needed to relax and unwind and play Candy Crush. That's what I did, right? So this is what I did. I'm like, I need to figure out where my time is going. So what I did was I opened up a spreadsheet. I've been a business analyst, project manager for a long time. So this is what I do, is get the data, right? Okay, where does my time go? So what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to do this for a couple of weeks. I ended up doing this for 2.5 months. For 2.5 months, what I did was I tracked everything I did in 15-minute increments. I do not recommend that all of you do this. I did it because I'm a data person. It actually made me feel good to have data, to have stuff to track. So every day, 15 minutes would pass and I would write down, okay, what I did. And I put all that in a spreadsheet. Ended up doing this for 2.5 months so I could see where my time pockets were. And if you want to know, I'm going to get like little TMI here, but it's kind of important. You're like, Ina, what if I spend too much time in the bathroom? Or do you track going to the bathroom, right? Did that make it in? If I just went to the bathroom for a couple minutes, it did not make it into the spreadsheet because it was 15-minute intervals. But if I was in the bathroom for a while, anything above 7 minutes or more would deserve the 15-minute block. So that's how I did it. You might choose to do it differently. You might choose to say, this hour in time, what did I do? You may choose to say, okay, this morning, what did I do? Work. This morning, what did I do? I wrote emails, right? So, but the important thing is to track every activity, not so much what you're doing with the time, but track every activity that you're doing and how much time you spend on it. So if you want to do it that way, that's another way to do it, is to just write down whenever you switch tasks, whenever you switch activities from doing the dishes to making dinner, right? You say, I did the dishes from this time to this time. I made dinner from this time to this time. I did it in 15-minute intervals because I'm just crazy and that's just me and I love data and that's how it went. You may choose to do it differently. The most important part is what activities are taking your time and how much time you're spending on each activity. All right. So I actually have on Instagram today, Monday, October 8th. If you go to my Instagram, Monday, October 8th, you're going to see a picture of that spreadsheet and it's insane. It's insane. It's all color coded. So that I could see, okay, black was when I was sleeping. I think green was when I was working on something else. Yellow, it was like free time, something like that. I don't really remember what the color coding was. But I could see where I was spending my time. So I feel like that's step one for everyone. Before you go and try to find time pockets, you need to really focus on what you're spending time on so that you can see that which activities you're willing to give up or to outsource to someone else or to delegate to someone else, right? Like making dinner. I don't have to make dinner every night, right? There are some nights and my husband just takes care of his own dinner. There are times when we order out, right? So I know the pockets of time that I will have so that I can go and spend it doing something else. And it creates consciousness in your mind, consciousness of where your time is going so you can spend it differently. So there's tip number one. How do you guys feel about this? If you're watching live, tell me what you think. What do you think about tracking your time? Have you ever tried it? How did that go? Okay, story number 2. I once spent 5 hours after 9 o'clock on a weekday designing the face of an app, of a mobile app that I never even actually built. And that was a little bit crazy. So one time, a friend of mine and I were talking, and you have to remember I'm from IT. I was a project manager for software projects, so I hung out with a lot of developers, a lot of programmers. And he and I got to talking over lunch someday, and I'm like, you know what, you and I should make an app, right? I'm great at creating requirements, at finding edge cases, at documenting, stuff, and he and I used to work really well together. So yeah, and shout out to him. He actually has a podcast out there, 200 plus episodes. You should check it out. It's 4 listeners program. Just search for 4, the number 4 listeners. Look it up. It's an amazing show. It's super funny. It's in the comedy realm, explicit language. I'm just warning you right now, but it's an awesome show. So it's a shout out to my friend Z. So Z and I were talking. It's like, okay, we're going to create an app. All right. And I started thinking about it and I could not stop thinking about it. So this kind of goes back to the beginning of the show when I was telling you inspiration comes first. I could not stop thinking about it. I'm like, what about, because I'm thinking of the mass appeal of the app. What if we created an app that is called Judge Me? So that you can kind of rate each other, rate your friends. But I'm not making a bullying app. So the only ratings you can have is good ratings, right? So you could actually like be proud. It's only things that you could be proud of, right? So people could rate you in terms of like, this person is a good listener, or this person is great at math, or this person is a great friend. So like only good things. You can only say good things about people. So like you could rate people, and there could be like a path, kind of like Candy Crush. I was in full Candy Crush mode. There would be a path, and you could unlock privileges, like the privilege to rate yourself, or the privilege to see what other people have been rated as, or to see what your friends have been rated as, or like, like just keep unlocking privileges as you go along. I could not stop thinking about this app. And it wasn't ever crazy about the name, like Judge Me, like has a judging tone, right? It has a negative tone, but I could not stop thinking about it. So I went home, and after I put the kids down, I went on my computer, I opened up Photoshop, and I just started creating the face of the app. And if you go to Instagram, on Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday, October 9th, in the afternoon, I posted a picture of it. By the way, all of these pictures become available at the end of the week. If you go to inacoveney.com/make time, that's going to show you all of these stories and the picture that goes along with them. So I have a picture of what that app look like. Like you could see your friends and what they were rated, and rate your friends, based on a whole bunch of different categories. If you didn't like any of the categories, you could refresh and it would give you more. I was all in on this idea, and I actually spent 5 hours that night doing them. So the proof of this is I'm not telling you to pull all-nighters. What I'm trying to convey here is that you need to have the inspiration first, and then time manufactures itself. It just appears to you. It makes itself available to you. So that night, I could have prioritized sleeping over doing this, or watching a movie over doing this, or unwinding any other way, but I didn't. This is all my brain was thinking of. So the first thing you need to do if you really want to achieve your dreams is to find a source of inspiration. If it's a podcast, if it's a video, if it's something, follow somebody that you admire and see how they're doing it, right? Somebody that's already been there, and watch what they do and what they teach and follow it. And inspiration just comes. You start thinking of ways to do things, right? So that's kind of like story number 2. So if you've ever related to that feeling, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the rating for this podcast. Let me know in the comments for this video. Have you ever had those bursts of inspiration where you just spent a crazy amount of time doing something that you didn't really plan on doing? You just did it anyway because you wanted to. Those are the feelings you're looking for. Those are the feelings that you need to go towards, so that you're being pulled into fulfilling your dreams rather than you feel like you're pushing yourself beyond your limits. Okay? So that's number 2. Number 3. This is one that also inspiration came first, but it helps you to find the pockets of time. So this one is kind of called, like, you feel like you don't have time. Have you ever heard of asking? It's because this time, this was a couple of years ago, I knew, or I firmly believed that my financial future lied on making a mobile app. I was going to make a mobile app, and this probably was around the time that I designed it. And I said, I'm going to put it out there for $3.99, and that's how I'm going to become rich. Right? This is where my money's going to come from my ability to learn things quickly, to make them happen, and post them on an app store. That's what I was going to do. But with what time? Because programming takes time, and I needed to teach myself how to create a mobile app. I didn't know how to do this. And for everyone on the podcast and on the live, I have a computer science degree. I have programming background. This is not something I was learning from scratch. I already kind of knew how to do this. So it was a low-hanging fruit for me to learn a new technology. So think about what is the next low-hanging fruit for you, for the things that you actually want to do, for your goal. What is the next thing you need to learn to do? Do you need to get a certification? Do you need to get a degree? Do you need to just sit down and create a website? What is it that you need to do? So have that next step in mind, all right? Find your inspiration, have your next step in mind, and how do you find the time for it? So, ever heard of asking? What I did was I went to my husband and I said, look, I know how my time is being spent all week, and I am spending a lot of time coming home, cleaning the house, taking care of the kids, making dinner, and by the time that I'm done, it's 9 o'clock and I'm exhausted. I can't really fulfill my dreams at that pace. would you please help me out? Can I take one night a week where I just go straight from work to the library and just spend my time there, and I'll come home after the kids are in bed. I'll come home when the library closes at 9 o'clock. Can I do that? Will you allow me to do that, please? And he's like, sure. Why didn't you ask before? It's like, he's perfectly cross-trained, right? He can take care of the kids. It's not just my job. He is the father of the kids. So he would pick up the kid at school, take care of his dinner, help him with whatever it is that he needed to do, put him down, and then I would come home. So I spent that whole time at the library teaching myself how to create a mobile app. And because this is what I do, I created a website for it that you can't go to it anymore because I've rerouted all my old links to my new site. But it was inacode7.com. That was like my programming ninja persona, right? Like, this is my new identity. I am Inacode7, right? And I had the picture of a ninja, and you can also see that on Instagram. I had the picture of a ninja there. Like, this was my site where every day or every Tuesday I would go and would open up my blog, and I would catalog everything that I did, because if I had to skip a week, which happened sometimes, I didn't want to come back and be like, oh shoot, where was I? So all my notes were on a blog. I started taking a class and I started writing my notes from that class in there. So that's how I did it. I kept a blog as I was learning. And that worked for a while. And that is something that I would really encourage anyone who's having trouble finding the time to just do it. Ask your partner if it's okay, or just block off that time. Every Tuesday religiously, this is what you do. All right. I do recommend that you set some goals for yourself, because it's actually very hard to keep yourself accountable, to keep yourself going every single week. So I suggest that you have goals, that you have mini milestones, that you celebrate them. All right. That you tell someone that you're doing them. All right. That's what I recommend. So that was another one. 4, the final one. Every time somebody asks you, hey, when was the last time you read a good book? Or what was the last good book you read? You guys, I remember giving them the stare of death. Like, what do you mean book? Have you seen my life? Have we talked recently? Do you know what I do? So every time somebody asks you something like that, like when I ask you, why haven't you started working on your dream? Or somebody asks you, when was the last time you read a good book? I want you to pretend that they're asking you, when was the last time you took a shower? There's a reason for that. And that is because if you take a shower every day, as I assume most people do, you do have a few minutes to consume what I call brain food. All right? To turn on a podcast, to turn on an audiobook, and to listen while you're in the shower. It's the same thing with if you're in the car, if you commute. If you're in the car for a long period of time, you can listen to something at the same time. If you go for a run, you can listen to something. If you're doing the dishes, making dinner, you can listen to something. If you're having lunch by yourself one day, you can listen to something. Are you getting my drift? So you are able to consume a lot of information that can be inspiring or that can give you techniques and strategies. You have the ability to learn as you go without even carving out any other time other than looking at the time that you already have. So on Instagram, I will post a picture of my speaker. My husband got me this Bluetooth speaker that is not meant for the shower, but he knew that I listen to stuff all the time. So he got me 2 things. A while ago, he got me a Bluetooth headset so that I could just walk around listening to my stuff. And he got me recently, I think it was for my last birthday, a Bluetooth speaker so that I could listen to it in the kitchen. And it's a marvelous speaker. So what I did was I took it in the shower with me. So I took a picture of that. I did buy a Bluetooth speaker for the shower that you can with a suction cup put on the wall. I did do that, but it broke. I've had a couple of those and they keep breaking. They're not very reliable. So I've been using the non-shower speaker for the shower. So that's what you can do. So big time. If you feel like you don't have time, ask yourself, well, do I take a shower? Do I commute? Do I spend periods of time where I'm alone that I could be listening to something? Invest in a Bluetooth headset. Invest in a Bluetooth speaker and listen to stuff when you're able to. All right. That's what I did. That's what I still do. And by the way, my biggest challenge was not to find what to listen to or to get an Audible subscription. They're not paying me to say this, or to find which podcast. My biggest challenge was to get my husband to stop knocking on the door whenever he needed something and I was in the shower. I had to very lovingly go and tell him, honey, when I'm in the shower, that's my sacred time. It's the only time I can actually be alone in this life. So can you please take care of things? And unless the house is burning down, please don't knock on the door when I'm in the shower. And he's like, okay. And he never did. Right? So those are the stories that I wanted to relate to you. These are really going to help if you are ready to take that next step. All right. And I have one more thing for you. If you're really ready and if you're like, Ina, I want to do this, I want to find the time, help me. What do I do? I got the perfect solution for you. Next week, October 15th, I am going to have a time challenge. I call it the Reprioritize Your Time and Replace Your Salary Challenge. And you can access it by going to inacoveney.com/time. You do have to be a member of the Facebook group because that's where all the lives and all the assignments are going to be given. That's where I'm going to be going live. It's going to be at 9 o'clock at night, every night next week. And it is 9 o'clock at night because I want to make sure that it's good for the West Coast and I want to make sure that your kids are down if you're on the East Coast, right? So put on your headset, come and watch me. I'm going to give you micro assignments that you can do to start finding pockets of time so that by the end of the week, you will never say, I don't have time for that ever again. All right. So if you're really in that spot where you're like, I really want to make this happen, but I really don't know how to find the time, come and join me next week for that challenge. I'll be there waiting for you. Okay. Super excited. Go sign up, inacoveney.com/time. And it's important that you actually sign up even if you're a member of the group. Great question, because it is through the email that you're going to get the assignments, the reminders, all of that. So definitely go join so you can start getting those emails. All right, guys, that is all I had for you today. I can't wait to see you at the challenge, and I can't wait to see what you do with your newfound pockets of time. All right. Thank you guys so much. Goodbye, world. I'll see you next time.